Hey everyone, this is MusicTechHelpGuy, and in this video I'm going to demonstrate how you can build out a beat in Logic Pro using nothing but pre-made loops and samples, and still come up with something interesting and inspiring. And this beat is going to be a fully fleshed out arrangement, and I'll show you how you can do this in very little time, in like under an hour. Without any edits, this video took me about 45 minutes to make. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how quickly you can come up with beats in Logic, and this is one of the many reasons why I love Logic as a creative DAW. Real quick, I want to talk about the sponsor for today's video, Humit. Humit is a free social music discovery app that syncs with Spotify so you can discover and share new music. Share songs and stations from your phone without the need for URLs. Listen to music shared by people with similar interests, discover new artists, share snippets of your favorite songs, and chat with friends. Whatever vibe or genre you're looking for, Hummit's got a station for that. And if you're a producer, an artist, or you're in a band, you can create your own custom station to build your music following. So hop onto Humit and enjoy a new social media app made for music lovers like you. So enough talk, let's get right into this. So as you can see, I'm starting completely from scratch. I haven't even created a track yet. I'll just create a software instrument here as a placeholder. I probably won't even use it. And let's start by opening up the loop browser. If you didn't know already, you can just press O and that will toggle the loop browser to bring it up or hide it. So I want to start with strings. I'm going to just type in strings and I'll find a string loop that I like. Actually, I really like that cello in this against time staccato strings loop. Now, one of the main rules, or it's not really a rule, one of the main guidelines of working with loops and samples like this is you absolutely have to pay attention to the key of the loops that you work with. In particular, the first few loops that you use are going to define the key and the tempo and the feel for the rest of the beat. So if I use this against time staccato strings loop, I'm going to have to conform to 70 BPM and D minor. You don't have to, you can transpose things later, but that's the way I work. I like to sort of work in the key of the original loop. And if something happens later on down the road and the singer needs, the song to be transposed to a different key, well, we can worry about that later. So I'm just going to drag in this against time staccato strings loop, and I'm just going to loop this out a few times. You can use the loop function here. You just hover over the upper right corner and you can drag it out, but I much more prefer using the repeat function just by pressing Command R, and this will just repeat that loop over and over again a few times as individual copies rather than a loop. And you can see after dragging in that D minor loop, it's automatically changed the key of the song to be D minor. So if it doesn't, I highly recommend that you manually change that up here, because now any other loops that I drag in are going to be transposed to this key. Now, when building songs from loops, it's helpful to look at the loop collection. That's the way Logic's loop library is organized. So I'm going to look up against time, and let's see if I can find some more against time instruments. So we have keys, piano, sax. Let's check out these keys. Okay, that's cool. Let's drag that in. Let's loop that out a couple more times, just pressing Command R. And then let's try to bring in like a beat. So let me just I'll just type in beat, I guess. And you know what? I want something that I can edit, something that's maybe in the step sequencer. So I'm going to change the loop type to just pattern loops. One of the things you can do is you can create a loop out of an area out here just by dragging over the regions and pressing Command U, And then while that's playing, you can click on different loops over here in the loop library, and you can see how they sound with your existing loops out in your tracks area. So I like these two all hands beats. Now I could just use one of them, or I could use, both of them back to back just for a little bit of variation. One thing I like to do when working with loops is I like to set my snap up here to either bar or beat, and then I'll set this to snap regions to absolute value. And this just prevents, regions from being dragged off of the grid. So I'll go ahead and keep that snap mode on. I think I'll just work with the all hands beat 1, and I think I will alter it in some way. So let me just pull this over here. So maybe this will be the intro, then the keys come in, and then the beat hits here. So I'll make measure 5 like the main beat, like the chorus of the song, and it'll just come in as an instrumental, and then we'll move on to a new section in the verse. Okay, so let's find a bass line now. When you're looking for instruments that are going to fit the key of your song, the main thing you can do to avoid loops that don't work with your current beat is you can change the scale up here to match the tonality of the original loop that you dragged in. So mine was D minor, so there's no point in even looking at any major loops. I can basically just set this to minor when I'm looking for anything other than, drums and effects, which don't have a set key. And then I've searched for bass, so now, let me just change this back to all loops. So now I'm seeing all of my minor key bass loops here. Now I want something that's a little more maybe dirty, a little more synthesized. Well, I've got the all hands beat, so I could use the all hands sub bass here. Yeah, I'm not too much of a fan of that. I really like that one. Let's pull that in. I do like the sound of that, but I think I'm going to use that in a different section. So I'll just pull that over to the side here. Another thing I'm constantly doing is just pulling down the volume of all of my new tracks just to keep everything from clipping. I'm not really focusing on mixing here. I'm just focusing on getting the ideas out. Oh man, that sounds like it was made for these other two loops. It doesn't have the same key or the same name, but yeah, let's try that out. That was really cool. Alpha Omega Bass. I think what I'm going to do with the beat here is in the second half, I'm going to use my marquee tool and just split that in half. And then on the, I guess it's the second half of the second half of the second half. I'll open that up. Just double click. It'll open it up in the step sequencer. That dome, 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 dome. I want the kick drum to accentuate that. So it's just like quarter notes or eighth notes. And this note here is tied together. So let me go to my tie. Let's get rid of that tie. Then go back to step on off. Now I have this dome, boom, 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 boom. We may need to accentuate the bass a bit more with another sample or something, but for now, I'm fine with the way that sounds. Okay, so let's move on to the next section. Let's copy over the all hands beat a few times. And I want to make sort of like a long verse, and I don't want it to be all the same. I want to have some variation in there, but let's start with this alpha matrix bass, and I'll just loop all of this. Again, Command U we'll set the cycle range to your selection. Let's find like a synth lead of some kind. So I'll just search up synth lead. Once again, I'll make sure that the scale is set to minor, so I'm not seeing any major key synth leads. Oh, that one sounds really cool. Let's see what that sounds like. And notice that the original key of the synth loop was C minor, but it automatically transposes it to fit the key of everything else that's in my project because I set that key to D minor in the beginning. So that's one of the most important things you can do. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this up. So it only comes in every 2 bars. Like, so it's 2 bars without it, 2 bars with, 2 bars without it, 2 bars with. Then at measure 21, I want this to be like the second half of the verse. So let me try bringing in some of these other ideas, these against time keys and strings. Let's see how that works out. I think the cello in the strings is sort of clashing with the bass. So let's just try the keys. So that can be like our verse. These 16 bars here can all be the verse. What I'll do is, it's almost like this is like a pre-chorus leading into the chorus. So let me just drag over all of this and I'll just press Command R. That'll repeat that whole section. So now I have sort of intro, chorus, instrumental, verse, second part of verse, chorus, like a real chorus. And instead of going into like a pre-chorus here, I'll do like a bridge and then we'll finish with the chorus out. Let me just change this to custom up here. We're already at 2 minutes and 30 seconds right here at bar 45. So again, you can build out a complete musical arrangement fairly quickly. So I want this bridge section. It's almost like a little breakdown or like a build-up section where things sort of come down a notch. I want the intensity to come down a notch. So let's see if I can find something that's like light or airy sounding. Yeah, let me search up like airy. Let's see what I get from airy. That's actually kind of cool. Let's see how that fits. Airy phased synth. Just loop that a few times. Oh man, that fits so well. I'm getting really lucky here. Let me try taking these keys and pulling them over as well. They're kind of a more light, airy sort of sound. And I'm going to add a bunch more reverb to these as well. It's like they were made for each other. Okay, the only thing I'm going to do here is I want maybe 4 bars of instrumental, then 8 bars with vocals building back into the chorus. So I think I'm going to go 3 repetitions here instead of 4. And then at 57, I'll just take the main beat. I'll just hold Option and drag that over. And again, using that bar snap and snap to absolute value really helps for things like this when you're having to drag multiple regions across, pretty far distances. It really helps to just make things snap really nicely to the grid lines. So I think the last chorus is going to be a double chorus, and then maybe I'll end with the same idea I began with. I have this idea of ending with just the cello, but it kind of sounds weird when you just drop this other one out. Maybe what I'll do is I'll hit A to show my automation, and then I'll just kind of fade this out. Maybe I'll do something like that. There we go, perfect. And I'll add some reverb there too so it doesn't sound so choppy. Now what I can do at this point is if I have the main idea of the arrangement built out, I can start adding in markers if I want. Click here to hide and show my global tracks. And then under marker here, you just hit the plus button to add a marker. So I'll just double click, and maybe this is my intro. And then at measure 5 is maybe the chorus or the main beat. So I'll just add another marker there. I'll call it chorus. I'll just tab over. You can use the bracket keys that are right to the right of the M key to tab 1 bar at a time, and you can hold Shift to tab 8 bars at a time. So this is really helpful to jump back and forth between different 8-bar or 16-bar sections. So at measure 13, I'll add a marker here, and I'll call this verse 1. Then 21 is just the second half of the verse. It could be labeled like a pre-chorus, but I'm just going to keep that under the same marker as verse 1. Then I have the chorus again at 29. 37, I have another verse. I'll call this verse 2. And then at bar 45, I've got sort of like a breakdown middle section. I'll just call this a bridge. And then at 57, I've got the final chorus. And then at 73 is the outro. So I'll just type in outro, and there we go. You can also colorize these markers. If you just press Option C, that'll pull up your color palette, and you can hold Shift to select multiple markers. So I'm gonna select the intro and outro. I'll make those both this yellow color. I'll make all of the choruses a green color. Then I'll make the verses, make them this orange color, and then I'll make the bridge like sort of this purple color. And one other thing you can do is you'll notice that markers by default will extend to the end of the song or until the next marker. So, adding a chorus marker here automatically trims the original intro marker. But at the end, if you want to trim the markers, you can click here and you can click on marker, and you can see all of your markers. So you can see the outro marker there. And if I double click on this and just type in the number of bars I want it to last, so here it's 4 bars, it'll shorten and trim the length of that marker. You can do the same thing with your other markers too, but there's really no reason to, because new markers will automatically trim markers before them. And if you decide to extend a section, it's helpful to just have the marker extend as well. So I usually only trim up the very last marker in my arrangements. And as you start getting a lot of regions and different loops in here, a really helpful zoom shortcut is Z. If you click on the background and then just press Z, it'll auto zoom everything to fit in the screen. So let me just close out my global tracks there, and you can see all my markers are up there nice and labeled. So let me do a few more things to enhance the beat a bit more. The kick drum is a little lackluster. I want the kick drum to really sort of reinforce the beat. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to duplicate the blowing speakers track with the beat on it. I'm going to drag all of these down, or duplicate all of them down just by holding Option. I'm also going to convert all of these. Just right click or control click, go down to convert. I'm going to convert these to MIDI regions, and then with all of them selected, I'm going to press J to join them all together. Now, the only thing I'm doing here is I'm going to delete everything that isn't a kick drum. So drag over everything that isn't a kick drum and hit delete. You can see C1 is the kick. Now, I'm not a big fan of that kick sample, so let me go ahead and just reset. Actually, what I'll have to do is create a new software instrument, just a blank one, then pull this kick down, delete that other track, And I'm just going to call this kick layer. And you could load up like quick sampler, drum machine designer, whatever you want. For this video, I'm just going to use drum synth because one of the kicks in here is pretty nice, the hard kick. It's nice for just reinforcing the beat. The only thing that's tricky is there's some weird automation that was like step automation in here that's been transferred down to this MIDI region. Just watch the panner here. Very easy to get rid of. Just press A and then turn off the automation, and then press A again, and you're good to go. I'm going to take this one step further, especially during the verse here for this alpha matrix bass, and possibly also for these against time keys. I want to create sort of a sidechain pumping effect. I want some of these instruments to sort of duck out of the way when the kick hits, but not all of these kick hits. I think there's too many kick hits there for me to really like the pumping effect. I think really where I want the pumping to be is here, here, and here. Just those three notes. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this track once again, duplicate down the region. So let me just open this up. I'm going to get rid of all of the notes that I don't want to trigger the pumping. And if you've never seen this before, you'll recognize the sound even if you've never seen this technique before. It's like a super stereotypically used technique for electronic music. And I'm just going to copy that kick over to all the other sections where I want it. And this is going to be called kick SC layer. And we're actually going to mute it, because what this is going to be is it's going to be a sidechain input source to create a ducking effect. We don't actually want to hear it in the mix. We just want to hear the effect that it has on other instruments. I want the ducking effect to be on the alpha matrix bass, so I'll add the compressor to this track. Up in the sidechain input, I can go under instrument, and there's that kick SC layer. What that means is that when the kick hits in this kick SC layer track, it's going to cause the compressor to compress. And I could unmute this if you want to actually hear the effect with the kick drum. So every time the big notes of the kick hit, this compressor is going to duck down. Now, just getting the ideas out there is one thing. Doing some sound design and adding some transitions is something that you can't forget about. So first, let's talk about reverb. I want some of these instruments to have more of like an ambient sound to them, and others, like the strings, I want to add like a concert hall reverb. One of the cool things about Logic is if you create a effects send, like if I go to bus 4 here, this will automatically create an aux track where I can add the reverb. So I'll call this hall verb, and then I'll add Space Designer to this. This is under Reverb Space Designer. And then I'm going to go under the presets here, go under halls. Let's choose like a string hall. We have big string reverb, bright hall. Yeah, let's use the big string reverb. Let's see what that one sounds like. And I just pull up the send amount to adjust how much reverb I hear on that aux track. The main thing I want to hear are the strings going to sound okay on the outro with the keys fading out to nothing. So now let's find like an ambient reverb as well. So on the keys here, I'll create a new send over to bus 5. I'll call this my AMB verb, my ambient verb. And then I'll load up Space Designer again. And let's try maybe like a warped space or like a really large hall. Let's try the longest one, 14 seconds of reverb. Let's see what that sounds like. It almost creates like a whole different dimension, especially like for when the strings just cut off suddenly at the verse. You get this lingering sort of glow or this tail after the sample. So I love using reverb that way. I'll try adding some of these reverbs to the synth lead as well. Oh, that's great. So let's see how this sounds in the mix. And you could add other time-based effects as well if you like. I've added the tape delay to the synth lead to bring out the ambience some more. To finish up, off-screen I added in the Neon Dreams crash cymbal and the White Noise Sweeper 01 samples from Logic's loop library, just using these to accent the beginning of some of the sections. And then I've also added in this snap ensemble loop that's only going to be playing during the chorus. So let's give the final result a listen. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. As always, thanks for the support and thanks for watching. I'll end the video with a full playthrough of the rest of the song.